Malcolm Turnbull joins us now. He is at Morayfield in Queensland, outside the electorate office of Wyatt Roy, as you can see there in the background. Malcolm Turnbull, thanks for joining us. Just clear this up. Are you fully on board with the paid parental leave plan?
Well, absolutely. And, it just goes to show how incredibly desperate Kevin Rudd is becoming, that he would not only tell one lie after another about every policy area from telecommunications through to paid parental leave. Look, the point that I made today in the radio interview was to say that there's a choice, and Labor's proposition on paid parental leave is a meaner and less generous scheme. So I don't see how that could be regarded as an endorsement unless Kevin Rudd wants to get elected on a platform of being mean and stingy. The fact is, Tony Abbott's paid parental leave scheme, the Coalition's paid parental leave scheme, has overwhelming support, unanimous support. You saw that in the launch yesterday. And some people have said it's too generous. Well, that's a fair enough comment for people to make, but it's not one we agree with. Well, we agree this will be the most generous paid parental leave scheme in the world, and we're proud of that.
OK, you've used the words earlier today that it is a very generous scheme, and you've said there that it's fair enough for people to say it's too generous. Is it the sort of scheme that you would have proposed as Liberal leader? Well,
I can't really. That's a sort of hypothetical. It wasn't a certainly I hadn't thought of it, but I'm very happy to support it. And I think the real point is that in every election you've got a choice, and here on paid parental leave you've got a very generous paid parental leave scheme, fully funded, fully costed from the Coalition, and a scheme from Labor which is much, much less generous. And I would say by comparison a meaner and less generous scheme, as I said today. So that's the choice. It's like on broadband. You've got the choice between Labor's project, which is making virtually no progress, could take 20 years to complete, $94 billion before
I want to get to that, but just sticking with paid parental leave.
A cost-effective one.
Just sticking with paid parental leave for a moment, though, there's the question about whether it's too generous and whether it's equitable. And then there's the question about whether we can afford it. Now, have you seen the costings on this? As a member of the Shadow Cabinet, are you aware of whether this stacks up?
Yeah, I am aware of how the program is costed. I've discussed it with Joe Hockey, but I'm not going to release the costings today. But he's taken me through it.
And you're satisfied with it?
I think everyone will see that it has been fully costed. Yeah, absolutely. Look, I have great faith in Joe Hockey. I appointed him Shadow Treasurer, you should remember, some years ago. So I regard him as his success in that role as a tribute to my good judgment choosing him to serve in that position.
What about Kevin Rudd's argument that it would be cheaper to build a high-speed rail network than pay for this over the next 20 years?
Well, that just shows how hopelessly innumerate Kevin Rudd is. I mean, on that basis, you could, every social program over 20 years is going to add up to a very big sum of money. But you're comparing apples and oranges. I mean, rail is very important, broadband's very important, roads are very important, but also investing in our own families, ensuring that every generation of women have the ability to balance work and family effectively. That will encourage more people, more families to have kids. It'll be good for the country. Look, David, the argument against paid parental leave is, as I said, the critics say it's too generous and we can't afford it. Well, we say, yes, it is very generous. We don't think it's too generous, but it is very generous. And by the way, we can afford it. And that's what we've, that's what we've set out in our costings. And that's very important. I think we've just got a couple of passers-by standing in front of the camera there, but they've headed off.
All strong election campaign stuff. On your portfolio and the National Broadband Network, your plan is to run fibre to the node, to the street corner, and then use the Telstra copper wire for the final link to the home. I want to ask what sort of deal Telstra can expect here. What are you willing to pay Telstra for access to that copper link? We're
not proposing to pay them anything. Telstra already has a arrangement with the NBN Co, a contract in fact, whereby they are being paid about $1,500 for every premise as it is cut over to the NBN, and they decommission their copper network. Their copper network, in the context of an NBN world, is of no economic value. It can't be used anymore. So I'm very confident that we can acquire access, ownership, if you like, of the last mile copper for no additional payment. I mean, Telstra has a very significant vested interest in this NBN being built. They negotiated a very good deal. We're not suggesting that should be altered or mitigated in any way, but they want to get it built. And of course they're frustrated, as everyone is, by the Labor government's absolute failure to get the job done. You've got to remember, David, it's all very well for Kevin Rudd to talk about this NBN project of his. After 4 years, he's only got 33,000 premises connected to the fibre. He said a couple of years ago, or Labor said a couple of years ago, by this stage they would have over 500,000 with active connections. So they are so far behind in their project. It is really a failing project. Now, we will get the NBN finished much sooner, much lower cost to the taxpayer and more affordably for consumers. The problem with it is, at the moment, is that it's a lose-lose. It's going to cost the taxpayer upwards of $100 billion, and it's going to result in a dramatic increase in broadband prices, and that's all a matter of public record.
Now, can I ask you, if the polls are right, Tony Abbott will win a week from Saturday and become Prime Minister. Are you hoping and looking forward to staying in the same portfolio?
Oh, absolutely. Well, it's obvious. Yes, the answer is Tony's made so many commitments that I'll be sorting out the NBN. I think I can safely say I've got every reason to expect to remain in the portfolio I have. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm relishing the prospect, and I've got no doubt that if we win, I will be the Minister for Communications and Broadband.
And what sort of Prime Minister do you expect Tony Abbott to be?
I think he'll be an outstanding Prime Minister. I think he'll be a very consultative Prime Minister. He'll govern as a Prime Minister who is not a Kevin Rudd type dictator, not a Kevin Rudd type I know everything. He's a very smart man, but he's also very modest. He will be very consultative both with the public and also with his cabinet colleagues. We are presenting, and you can see this in all of our material, everything we do, we are presenting as a team. You'll notice that yesterday Tony didn't talk about an Abbott government here, an Abbott government there. He talked about a coalition government. We are a team. He, as Prime Minister, he is the first among equals, the chairman of the board.
Okay, but just on that, did his paper and leave plan go to the team? Was this something he consulted on?
The paid parental leave plan has been through the shadow. It definitely has the support of the shadow cabinet and the party room. Now, it's very much Tony's proposal. There's no running away from that, but it has the support of the party, and you saw that the way it was cheered to the echo in the campaign launch yesterday.
All right, Malcolm Turnbull, we will have to leave it there, but thank you for joining us from the seat of Longman this afternoon.
Thanks very much, David.
All right.